but I should say, while you do that, just thanks for A, coming back to the people that I recognise, and B, coming to the people that weren't at the last session. We had a really interesting chat, and there were some really nice questions and points being made, and we wanted to sort of go through the gears in these sort of town halls, because I think one of the things I sort of learned, well, first of all, I was really impressed by Felicia just telling us sort of where this all ends. And that helped me personally visualize. Does it end? Helped me visualize where we're going at the moment, but also it also helped me visualize where I feel like the majority of the people in this room, and probably out there as well, are. So what we said was, so that was nice, but I guess what we want to do is carry on pushing this a little bit more. So we're not just preaching to the converted, we're not covering up old territory. So we're going to try and go to second, third gear, is what I'm going to call it for now. Before I do that, I just wanted to maybe, if you could just briefly introduce yourselves again, because not everyone was there in the last time, and while I sit down. So Vanessa, why don't you start with you, and then Felicia, and I'll sit down.
So sorry to repeat for a couple of you, but I'm Vanessa, and I do a few different things in the event sector. I run Event Tech World, which is a community for buyers and users of technology in the event space. I also work at the Financial Times in their events department, which is quite sizable. We run nearly 300 events a year. I do some consulting in the event sector and some advisory work and some emceeing and all sorts of other things as well. Lots of different hats. Felicia.
So I'm the marketing director for Cvent. We operate event technology and hospitality technology for everyone in this space, basically. And we're building a lot of, I guess, AI to our technology. And I would say it's in a way that is in some ways organic. It's like obvious things that we just need, like generative AI. But we are moving into the more agentic side of our development as well within our technology.
Fantastic. Thanks, Felicia. Can I just do a bit of a straw poll first? We did this sort of in the last session, so I hope you don't mind if we covered it back then as well. But first of all, can I just ask, if I was going to say something like, one is sort of experimental user, anything between first time and just working on it. Two being, actually now I'm really getting the hang of this, I'm looking at agents and building something a little bit more. And three, sort of like, yeah, I should be on the stage, basically, not you. Sort of like, so can you put your hands up, which is basically one? Who's sort of one, that experimental? No, brill. Is anyone, leave your hand up if you're bordering on two. Yeah, okay, so bordering on two, so I'm thinking, right, I'm feeling a bit comfy with this one. Any three that, and no one's going to think you're a dick just for thinking.
I was going to say, who's going to come and kick us off?
Yeah, that's right. But if you're kind of like, actually, I feel really comfortable, with this sort of stuff, and I really want to take it. Is there anyone that's feeling like, if I asked you tomorrow, you'd go, yeah, I could go on stage, yeah, I could do that. I'll just ask three then. Okay, so sorry, it was a bit of a hung question, that one. But no, that really, really helps in terms of where we push ourselves. So, thank you. That really helps. At any point, ask a question, right? That's the whole point of the town hall. What I was going to do is I was going to ask a few questions, and I have been known to hog speakers, but I'm going to ask some questions. But at any point, if you just kind of go, actually, I really need an answer to this, like now, and then I can go, you should just ask the question, right?
And can I add to that? Don't worry if you think it's too basic. That's not possible at the stage that we're at with AI. So even if you're sitting, I think I really want to ask this, but I don't want to look stupid. High chance that the person sitting next to you or behind you wants to ask exactly the same thing.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. So I'll kick off and you guys interrupt. First of all, Felicia, you did a really good job. Well, it really struck me in terms of where this ends. Can you just play that out again as a scene setter, please?
Absolutely, and it definitely is an end. It was kind of like future.
Yeah.
And I'll context it, and I know some of you have heard this before because I said it earlier, but put it in the context of this. Right now, running events is becoming really difficult for certain people, I would say, because there's more, and you don't have enough staff, right? So I always look at my planner, Penny. She happens to be called Penny the Planner. And I don't want Penny the Planner to burn out, but she is. Quite frankly, we just ran one of our largest events of the year, and she looks like a shell of the person that she was before we started, and I really want to look after her. So one of the best ways for us to look after her would be to employ another Penny, but we don't have the budget. So then I would want to get Penny an intern, but we don't have the budget because interns and other people are needed across other functions of the business. So she just is missing out right now. So So I set that context to say, how can I help her? The best way I could see to help her would be to get her more tech support, call it that, with the AI. So when I paint this picture, and it's not me, I'm not the one that came up with this, but when I paint this picture, it's, okay, so AI is not replacing us. So that's the first fear removal. What it's doing is it's supporting Penny, and it's supporting me to support Penny. So the way I picture it is that, let's say I'm the circle at the top, and Vanessa very nicely said earlier, then I've got my little, things that I'm using that are AI tools that she mentioned earlier. We can mention them again. But I might be using 5 or 6 tools. Below me, there would be sort of 3 of us plus Penny. And then maybe there'd be 2 more that are kind of more AI managerial functions. And below them, each one of those would have their tools that they're using. But below them, there would be these agents. And that's where we get into this agentic AI. I also might have some agents, but I want some managerial AI. But I'd want everyone below to start to use their agents. So the function goes from me and, say, 3 people to me and my tools, 5 people and robots and their tools, and then many more agents. There should be loads and loads of agents that are operating underneath. And that's how the team structure should grow. So ultimately, Penny gets more support from me with my tools, from her with her tools, but from her agents that are doing repetitive work over and over again. And that's how I see it, not ending, but going to the future.
It's a marketing thing in my mind. If you know where you're going, you can plan better for it, and that's how I saw it. And Vanessa, does that speak to you as well? That, like your view of where this is going, not ending?
Going, yes, absolutely. And it's that repetitive work, I think, is the bit that I would say at this stage, when we're all setting out upon this sort of brave new world, this new journey with AI, as soon as you start to see repetitive work, that's where you can really, really, really get quick wins. So that was, if you think of the tier system that Felicia just described, this was a lot of that's right down at the bottom, which might make it feel like, oh, it's the least important stuff. Yeah, maybe it is, but it's also the most repeatable and probably the easiest to actually start using some AI tools or AI agents to get those done. So repetitive, the AI world is kind of good. It's very accessible.
Fantastic.
Like, I'll give an example. So Zoom, everyone, if you use Zoom, you might use something else, but everyone kind of knows now you could switch on the AI, in Zoom, and it will give you summaries of your meeting. Great. The other day, I was coming up to having a meeting with someone, and don't ask me why. I think maybe corporately someone must have switched this on, but was it on the day of the meeting, it sent me this is who you're meeting, this is who they are, this is what it's about, these are the topics and themes that you've been discussing in your emails, because it's all linked in, everything's like connected. And these are some suggestions of what you could get out of the meeting that you're about to have in a couple of hours. That's like having my own assistant, like literally having my own PA of saying, like, just to remind you is who you're meeting and why. It's like, thank God for that, because I couldn't remember why I was having the meeting in the first place.
That's brilliant. So as we go through the gears, and one of the things that we were talking about afterwards is that classic thing of anyone's boss or someone turns around and says, you need to do more AI. Actually, at the debate, I remember the lovely gentleman Ashley said to me, when he's a very good business leader with an amazing, but he said none of his team is allowed to be busy in front of him. No one's literally allowed to say they're busy in front of me. It scared the life out of me. But there must be business leaders or people around that say, go and use AI. We need to be doing more AI.
Is anyone in that position? Like, is anyone in your company saying you have to use more AI?
Got to do AI.
Okay.
Oh, thank that's a great question.
But if you're not in that position, are you just doing it for yourself? Okay, yeah, okay.
So how do we go about that then? So when someone says, go do some AIing, to AI.
I get very frustrated by this because so many business leaders are putting pressure on to use more AI. My response to that is, why? Not to be facetious, obviously that sounds rather facetious, but what's the outcome? What are you trying to achieve? That is the ultimate goal. So the leaders should be saying, improve attendee experience, for example, and then you can go away and look at how you do that, which may well involve the use of AI, might not. That's okay too. But this concept of use more AI, I think is quite a dangerous one for leadership to be very mindful of. So if you are in a leadership position as well, consider that from the other way around. So what I would always be doing, and what I'm trying very hard to do in my employed work, is to really focus on those end goals, those end outcomes, and then focus all of my upward reporting around that and explain where AI may not have been used and why, but that the outcome was still, in this instance I gave, improve attendee experience. No one's going to argue with improved outcomes as long as you've got good reasoning as to why. So really focus on the output. And there's a great analogy that I encourage you all to use. It's a chap called Stuart Wintertier. He is a true AI guru, not an event person at all, but he knows AI inside out. He's very much a voice of reason, so he doesn't buy into the bullshit, and he'll call it out quite openly on social media. And I was moderating a session. I was Al and he was me, I guess you could say. And he said, it's like saying, buy this new fridge. This fridge is amazing and it's powered by electricity. No one cares how your fridge is powered. All you care about is that it keeps your food cold. You've got a nice cold Coke when you want to have a cold Coke. The food lasts longer. Maybe it's low energy, high energy efficiency because it's low energy usage. Those are the benefits of the fridge. The powered by electricity bit is completely irrelevant. If it was powered by gas, we'd probably still want it. And that's what we're actually doing with AI. We're saying, oh, let's do this. It's AI powered. Who cares? What's the outcome? Focus on the goals, focus on the outcome. So when you're getting that pressure from senior leadership, obviously you need to manage upwards to a certain extent, but really try and replace the use more AI thinking with the to achieve what, and then focus on the goals and really, really just stay hyper aligned to those goals.
Fantastic. And then we talked a little bit about prioritization. Maybe you can play that into what Vanessa's just said as well.
Yeah, we spoke about this a bit earlier, so I have to keep apologising if you've heard this already. It's because you were in the session earlier. But within that kind of like people are burning out, it's typically because they're like, okay, I had a great conversation with the Nazareth ladies in the hallway just now. And I was like, do you think Cvent should come to the Midlands a bit more? And they were like, oh yeah, it'd be really great. And I was like, okay, that's event number 71. Okay, do you think we should do, and I spoke to someone about unique venues, and she was like, oh, it'd be really good if you did something else for unique venues. And I was like, okay, that's event number 72. And so like, we could just keep going because everybody's got an idea. My CEO has an idea, my CMO has an idea, my boss has an idea, then the sales guys have an idea, and everything is a new event. Everything is another thing for us to go and do.
That's so easy, Felicia. What's the problem?
Yeah, Penny. Hey, Penny, we've got more events to do. We're already doing 70. So that prioritization is really important. Like I'm encouraging my team right now to ask, what's the priority? So they can ask me. I'm like, if I give you another thing and I'm like, hey, because I do this as well, I've got another idea. I want them to have written down their list and say, okay, I've got 10 things. Is that thing more important or less than the things I already have on my list? So that prioritization, you're like, well, how is that to do with AI? That should help them to think, okay, can I take the bottom of this list and make it more repetitive, make it kind of like, okay, you're saying we need to do more lunches. Can we spin these lunches up quicker using AI? Like I think someone earlier spoke about planning end-to-end events, which it is possible. Maybe some of those events that are repetitive, that have very similar traits and features, maybe they can be planned by AI because they aren't necessarily high priority, but they're high volume.
Or even certain elements of the events.
Exactly. So maybe not the end-to-end, but 30, 40, 50% of it, whatever it is. So I think prioritization will help us to get to the why. Why are we doing this? Is it transforming the business? Or is it because somebody had an idea? Or is it just because we're trying something new? Or is it because it's something that just has to be done? Like, once you can answer some of those questions, you might be able to understand, well, where does AI take over versus help me versus just give me the ideation moment? Like, that might be a way to look at it. And I was saying to someone earlier about the Virgin Media thing. Okay, does anybody, I'm like, I just keep saying it. Has anybody seen the Virgin Media adverts? There's an elephant like riding a thing through Tokyo. There we go. We've got some nods. There's also like a walrus that's on a speedboat. So the agency, he spoke to us a few weeks ago, and the agency that developed these adverts, they said that it started creatively. So it started with people saying, we're going to show that, we're going to have these animals that are unexpected on fast-moving transportation. And so the creative team are all around, like, figuring what's the next animal. And they got to a point where they were like, we just need speed. Actually, the point next is speed. And so they started to put it all through AI, and AI spat out, they said it was like 60 to 100 different animals on fast-moving things, and one of them happened to be the elephant. And that's a good idea. So they took it and they started to like get more creative with this elephant on this fast-moving truck in Tokyo. And they were like, it just moved us quicker. We don't have the time. Like, the priority is to get an ad out. The priority isn't to generate all of these ideas. We don't have the time for that. So yeah, they put their time into what they wanted to really work on.
I like it. Can I pause a session for a second and then go? Sorry, you will put your. Sorry. I'll come back to my bit. It's your bit that's more important than my bit. It was really interesting, but yours will be better.
I'm not sure about that. What I'm struggling with, I love using AI, and I'm one of those who pays for ChatGPT. But what I struggle with is feeling guilty using AI. Am I losing my credibility? If I'm doing a strategy document, obviously, I will put the prompts and I'll say, I've got this idea, what am I missing, what can I add to it? Then I'll present it, whether it's a sponsorship document or an association strategy document, and then I'll present it to my client. And then I'm always worried that they'll think, oh, well, she's not done the thinking, AI's done the thinking. So I struggle with that. Am I losing
Can I go first?
credibility?
Absolutely. And then the article that I was literally just reading
Much better
leads
question than
right
mine, by
into
the way.
this, but go.
Oh, no, will you start first with your article
Are
then?
you sure?
Yes.
Okay, so, but it came from Vanessa. So we were talking, and Vanessa was saying something. I'm not going to steal her thunder, and I'm hoping I still have the article open. It was from Salesforce, and I was looking at men and women and how we're using AI. And Salesforce said this. I'll read it out to you. Okay, so women who are feeling a bit funny about using AI, they say AI doesn't feel like real work. They said some women worry that using AI is cheating or cutting corners, especially in male-dominated industries. There's also a hesitation in claiming work that has been generated by AI or AI supported as their own. And that is just a feeling that women have. What? And that's all I'm going to say, and then go.
This is why we had Callie on in the morning, because we really care about the relationship between AI and us as human beings as well. But it was super interesting going through that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I stole you.
And just to be
Vanessa,
clear,
hit
we're
this
not
one.
laughing at you. We're laughing in agreement.
Yeah.
Is actually what it is. And I shared a story. I've been working with a quite junior level marketing manager for over a year now, and she really struggled with this. Tiny team. And quite frankly, they could not achieve all of the things that they've achieved without using AI. But it was about 2 months in, and I was like, why aren't you ChatGPTing this situation here? And she was like, I just don't. Am I allowed to? Those are the words she used. Am I allowed to? And I'm not actually her boss. I'm an external working with them, and I said 100%. And any issues, I will take all the flack. You're not going to have any issues, just to be clear, and I'm happy to have a chat with your boss and tell them that I have told you to go crazy with this. What it says to me is you have incredibly high standards, and that you give a shit that the quality that you're producing is excellent. So I would see this only as a positive. But if you're using ChatGPT to support you with creating the submissions that you're putting in front of clients, what to me that also says is you're freeing up your time to focus on the quality of those submissions, and that you're enabling yourself with AI. And I think fundamentally for most of us, we're using it just to enable ourselves as opposed to replace ourselves. And it does feel completely alien when I'm 20 years plus into working. The stuff I used to spend hours of my time doing, and we just don't have to anymore. And that, it's a big change in the way we work, but I think it is the right change, to be honest. Another analogy someone gave me, this question at the back, was I don't actually know the time frames around this. I'm going to say 30 years ago, all wardrobes were made by hand, and then somebody worked out how to mechanize that and use machines to make a wardrobe. And at the time, I imagine most people went, oh my goodness, we've had a wardrobe made from a machine, good grief. Nobody buys handmade wardrobes anymore because they're too freaking expensive. And it's a really blunt analogy, but I think it's quite a good one as well.
That's a brilliant question, by the way. Thank you so much. Another one here from...
Hi, it's Emma here from CHS. I was just doing a talk at the weekend actually about AI and helping people to become more kind of strategic partners. And one of the questions was, what do we do if our boss isn't into AI and they don't want it? So I had heard you talk earlier about, when it's not okay for a boss to say, just use AI. But what about the other way around when they're reluctant?
Really great question. One I find a little harder to identify with because I haven't personally experienced that. So other than saying run and get another job, which obviously isn't the right solution, I think I'd still keep focusing on the outcomes. But I'd probably seek to understand the concern as well. And that is the right thing to do. In this morning's session, we had a brief conversation around how culture and AI can really influence its success. And if there is a culture for it, that's obviously one thing, but a culture against it, this fear, concern, is quite another. So I think I'd seek to understand. That would be my first point of call. And then I'd probably try and choose and adapt, with their permission, some baby step projects. So bite size, low risk, easy access, prove that the wheels didn't fall off on a small scale, and then look to layer on and add up. What do you think?
I think, so just to interrupt, I think it comes from this momentum that's attacking the world with AI. I mean, we got it from the feedback for this show, the sort of education, which is, you've got to talk about AI. Everyone's talking about AI. Why are we talking about AI? Do AI. And a load of people are saying, well, we don't want to do that. And it becomes a very binary thing, which is everyone wants to do it, so I want to zag. Or everyone wants to do it, stop, I don't like this, it's all too scary, far too moving fast, let's just stop and let's do nothing until we know absolutely everything. And I think that's what I felt when I was going through what people wanted to talk about. I don't know whether that speaks to you at all.
It does, but I think, let me come at it from my own kind of like event technology and hospitality tech side of things, right? I think let's imagine we're like, okay, you're not buying your own or paying for your own subscription of chat, you're not doing all of that, but you are working with some technology somewhere, Google, Microsoft, whatever it is. More and more AI has already been built into these tools. It is an inevitability. So even if someone's boss was like, we're not AI forward focused, I'd do all the things you said first, but it just is. Like, we were having a really nice chat with someone about, she was feeling a bit, at Cvent Connect, we spoke about AI responding to RFPs, and she said, oh, but we're a human first, hotel, hospitality, it is our job to be hospitable and respond to those RFPs. And I said, yes, but we see the volume of RFPs that come through Cvent, and a lot of them are not responded to. Like, many more RFPs aren't responded to than are. So how helpful would it be to just have some technology that is already built into Cvent that it says this is unsuitable. Your RFP is unsuitable for the venue that you've sent it to. They're going to probably say no. That would just help the planner to know that that's not going to work for me. I'll go to another venue. What that means for the hoteliers, they have to make sure their profiles look right and they've got all the right information on there so that it gets the right response. But I think, to go back to what if your boss is against it, it can't be. It just is. As long as you are using any technology, it's going to get to a point where there's going to be some level of machine learning based something within that technology. So it's life.
Add into this. So AI is changing the world. It has not completely changed the world. So there are times when perhaps the boss, I'm really struggling to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, might have a point, right? Maybe, I don't agree with being anti-AI, so I'm going to correct myself. But where they may have some concerns or they may have some reasons not to use AI, it might be worth hearing them out on it. I went to Brighton SEO last week, so search engine optimization, so how people look for things online. And that has been very disrupted, I think I'll say, by AI search, where people are now using, for example, ChatGPT to search for something like hotels in Birmingham, whereas historically they may have gone just to Google for that. And this has really disrupted that search industry. As it turns out, there is now evidence that, yes, people are using AI search, and that is increasing, but amazingly, traditional search, so Google, has also increased during the same time span. So that's an example of where, if you've got a boss that's saying, don't give up on an old traditional search, well, actually, that boss would be right, because traditional search is still increasing. So AI is generating change, but it isn't always replacing all of the old stuff.
But what's scary about that is, if you search in Google, what's your first result now? The AI.
What the AI response, the AI answer, yeah. It is interesting. It was a really fascinating time to go to that event because
And it was.
new and old.
Can I ask, just to take a step back, because I want to go forward to this idea of teams, creating teams. So can we start by, can you define, if you wouldn't mind, whoever wants to, agentic AI, please? And then I guess the next step is, if we adopting an agentic way, how do we start picking our virtual teams and how do we work that into our worlds a little bit more? Felicia, you've nodded enough to have that.
So definition of agentic AI, let me take you through it. So basic, let's go generative, because that's what everyone understands. So generative is human in, something happens and then you get output, right? Then you've got workflows that require you to tell your AI, whatever it is, what you want it to do. So you're like, go to my Outlook calendar, find out when I'm free, then generate when I can have coffee or something. So it's still you saying, you're going to have to connect here to do a task, then maybe connect here to do another task, and then make my thing. That's still very human driven. With an agent, you are giving it a set of early instructions, but the agent does some of the thinking in between. It figures out where it would have to connect to or go to surface back what you need. And it's something that becomes quite repetitive. You should be able to say, now do another one, now do another one, now do another one. You don't have to give it that first set of instructions. And it should be saying, hey, would you like me to do this and that? And you're like, yeah, maybe that would be cool too. So that's why when I build the model, I'm like, it should become another person almost that you're talking to, because it's a worker, it has a job. So when you build the agent, you're like, you are this worker, or you are this persona, or you are whatever it is. You're going to regularly have to make this. You're going to regularly have to do that. Or I need you to build PowerPoints, or whatever it is that you want your agent to do primarily. And then it knows that's who I am. That's who I am. That's what I do. I should be looking for information that supports what you've asked me to do. And it kind of thinks a little bit more autonomously than a lot of the human interaction that you would do with those first two AI types.
Beautifully explained.
Yeah, and would you turn around, so again, following your model of your team, you'd turn around and say, I don't know, if you're reporting to the FD or whatever else, I am now using agentic to sort this out. I've got this covered. I don't need this, but if you're going to give me some money, I need this person here as well. So that's literally how you're building these teams. And
yeah. And it should actually help you build your case. And this is, I know we're giving you like future thinking, especially those of you that like, I'm right at the beginning, I don't know what you're talking about. But that's why we said earlier, you can talk to your generative and say, okay, this is my job, this is what I do, these are my priorities, all the stuff we've spoken about. What kind of agent do you think would help me? Okay, can you help me build that agent? Can you help me get the right prompts to build an agent? And chat will help you to get to that next level. And so if you do get to that next level and you're kind of like, okay, I'm figuring out this agent thing, I'm figuring out how it's helping me. When you pitch and say, I actually need a body, you are not saying I need a body to do menial, everyday, mundane, repetitive tasks. You're saying I need another creative mind. I need another strategist. I need another person that's going to bring value to this business. And I've already done all these things, but now we need to build the team like this with another human,
Sorry, Vanessa.
Well, I was going to say a future scenario for an agent would be an event attendee agent, where you could set up your own version of yourself to attend, let's go with a virtual event, because I think it's much more, I certainly find that more mentally understandable, to go to a virtual event and capture all of the snippets of information that are shared on topics A, B, and C. So you brief your event, your attendee agent to go to the virtual event on your behalf, and then tell you all of the subjects that you wanted to hear more about. And that is also highly likely to be a future part of the events world, where we'll have us here, which is wonderful and should never be replaced. But you can't go to every event you want to go to. I mean, good Lord, Felicia and I are really trying this quarter to go to every single event under the sun. But at some point, there'll be some events which you know you really want to go to, but it's just simply impossible. maybe your child is getting married that week, or whatever it is. One day you'll be able to send an agent to attend that event for you on your behalf. I just think for us eventees, that's sometimes a nicer way to think about it.
There's an agency we work with called Vokdam in Germany, and they are talking about digital doppelgangers, and that's what they essentially are. They're turning up, they're going to form part of your attendee list, and you won't be able to distinguish was that a real body or not, because it isn't a real body. It's just someone has sent someone on their behalf. So it's really cool.
It's very cool. It's very, very new age. I love it.
I've got a question over here, then more.
Hi. Just with regards to what you were just saying about saying, I don't need someone to come and do my menial work, but I need a new creative brain. Do you worry that we're going to lose some of the entry-level roles within companies because that will have been outsourced to sort of AI? Like, how do you get to the point of having a creative brain, like someone that is at that level when sort of there's been no pathway to get there, if that makes sense?
It's such a great question. I actually met a lawyer at the weekend who said exactly this. And I do think the legal sector has been really quite disrupted by AI. Certainly, I would say far more at this, where we are as of today, than the event sector. I think that's sort of somewhat the nature of the beast. The difference is that with legal, something is either lawful or not, and it's much more black and white. We don't have that in the world of events, which I see as a positive in response to your question. My honest answer right now, and I don't like this answer, but my honest answer right now is I think there is a bit of a risk around this that we need to be really mindful of as an industry. I don't have the solutions right now. Being aware of it is a first step. And then what we do about it, I don't know. But I think it's an excellent question, a really, really, really excellent question.
You said what I would have said, like just being aware of it, like bringing that question to the forefront. I look at my own organisation, I look at my own team, and I'm not getting sign-off for a new person anyway. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm already stifled. But then maybe the real challenge, which is what you posed and what Vanessa just said, is that maybe my future brain won't even want that person, and that's a problem. That's a real challenge.
A flip side to this, and this is totally thinking on the fly here because this only came up for us after the session earlier. Sorry, I'm really sorry I don't know your name, but yes, you asked us a question about education and AI. So our lovely AV is also a teacher at the back here, and we had a quick chat after the last session around what does this all mean in the world of education, where students and pupils have access to AI now and can write things that they're not necessarily writing on their own. I do also wonder if, and this isn't happening today, but if we will end up training people in a different way as well. So we'll actually train them to think and work in this way, as opposed to that role just simply doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know the answers, and we're in this crazy time when nobody really knows the answers, but your question earlier is just making me think a little bit differently about these things.
Yeah, and I was saying there's a 22-year-old guy at church, and I asked him, what are you studying law? Oh yeah, I remember that. And I'd happened to just watch a program where the AI had done all the redlining first, and then they checked it against a lawyer. And I said to him, and I said this before, hone your craft, learn your things, learn everything university will teach you, but also learn how to use AI to do that first bit. And that person becomes very interesting. He will be new in his industry, but if he comes in with I know the basics, I know what I'm doing, and I know how to use AI, I think he's going to be appealing. Yeah.
I'm interested in I'm interested in any other opinions around this agentic sort of evolution, whether it's something that you're, like me, hearing for the first time and are interested in about where it goes, or whether you're starting to formulate ideas in your own mind of what that could look like in your own teams. If anyone's got that, that'd be really super interesting. In the meantime, you're asking really good questions.
Two things. One was a comment about AI.
Just hold the microphone just a bit.
I saw a job advert on LinkedIn where it said that your CV will be scanned by AI and you will be interviewed by AI. So that to me was a bit scary. But that's the way we go.
Yeah.
Going back to the second sort of comment that's just been made. I'm a freelance association and conference manager, so I fly solo. I've got 3 clients which I provide 3 different services to. So I'm already thinking I could have, agent AI to help me manage, several events that I'm managing for my clients, because I don't have a team, like an in-person team. I have other freelancers that I work with, but yeah, I am heading towards that thinking now, that I need to look at the AI resources out there to see how it can help me.
May I ask
with my
a question?
clients.
This is a slightly emotive question, but how does that make you feel to think that you could sort of expand your capabilities, but using AI as opposed to just yourself?
A mixture of emotions. It's a bit scary
Yeah.
because I've always felt like, my vision was I will build a team, I will have partners. But now I'm thinking, do I really need in person? And actually, especially after these sessions, today, this morning's one and this one, I feel a bit more empowered to think positively
Awesome.
towards embracing it rather than what I just said earlier. losing
It
my
will still be
credibility.
scary,
Yeah.
by the way. I can definitely say that.
The thing that I'm going to take you right back to that Virgin Media business. They're an agency. Virgin Media are not critiquing them for bringing 100 ideas when they might have brought 5. They're happy. They're like, that's great. We've got more than we could even dream about, but they're still the creatives. And that's still you. You are still the person with all the knowledge and all the experience and all of that. But you're just ramping up. Suddenly you're going to be like, look what I can achieve. And I think people would like to work with you for it, not say, well, why would you use AI? I don't imagine that being a question.
The screening and interviewing with AI, I don't like that. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just a completely personal opinion. I do recognise, though, from a screening perspective, from an efficiency, I get it. We were talking earlier about hotels not being able to reply to all RFPs. How often do you hear, particularly recent graduates, I've applied for 150 roles and I haven't even heard back from 148 of them. Even just a response would be a great step. It does illustrate, though, there's a story here, and I don't know the exact perfect version of this story, but these tools are still imperfect, right? So we are somewhat talking as if they are nirvana. That's not true. They are imperfect, and there was an excellent example of this, and it was a Fortune 500 company, I can't remember which one, and one of the people team, HR team, just was not agreeing with all of the scanning of the CVs that was happening. They put their CV in, and it transpired they wouldn't have got through the scanning process. So then they got a few other willing volunteers from the team to put their CVs in as well, and none of them would have got through the scanning process. So what that illustrated to them was that none of the people in the team would have been hired, and yet they were perfectly happy with the team. And it did beg some questions. I know it was quite contentious at the time, but as you shared that example, it just serves a point that they aren't perfect, and we have to constantly challenge them.
Well, another question over here.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add to that. Really loud. Bias. There is bias within it. So I think there's a bit of a concern around, yes, we can use it to screen certain things, but there will be a bias within the AI the same way there's a bias in the human touch. The difference being in the human touch is that we can be aware of our own bias. So I think that's my only concern around
It's an excellent concern.
Can I want to do a half plug in the last 5 minutes for the next session, because we've come up with a few sort of concerns. One is creativity, one is losing those base level sort of people, one is bias. I think that's a really important point. And we are going to do a session about the scary stuff, but we haven't quite prepped for some of them. But I'm wondering what else you guys are concerned with when you talk about this and when you listen to people's questions. There are other things that come up that you kind of go, actually, this is a great opportunity, but shit, we need to really be on top of this other stuff. Is there anything that you can think of?
I would say it's back to the slop thing. I am concerned that everyone is giving it a go and not to any level of standardization or goodness or anything, so it's just like it's a whole bunch of stuff just happening, right? And then like I hate to say it, so in our senior leadership meeting that we had in Cvent, it's like, we want all your employees, there's 5,000 of us, we want all of you using AI, just like that boss says. And, we should be more agentic, we should be building agents. And then we were like, yeah, Reggie, we've built like thousands of agents within Cvent over the last few months. It's disgusting. It's so wasteful. it's what are they for? Are they even being used? Did one person share their agent with another person, or did they just build 16 of them? Like, this is a real issue. That's very wasteful, and sustainability keeps coming up with that as a big problem because it takes a lot of data processing to happen. So I don't want to talk anyone out of it, but it's a bit of an issue.
Well, we're event organisers. We need to know what's going to come out the other end, don't we? Sometimes we need to make sure it's all's fine. How about you, Vanessa? Anything that comes up that you kind of go, not feeling happy?
I think it's probably back to a question that was asked in this morning's session, just around everything all feeling a bit samey.
Yeah.
And I think we are in that right now. I think we've only really probably just got into it as well. I think the stat I got last week was by the end of next year, 90% of content online is going to be at least AI originated, if not completely AI generated. So that all feels like it's going to be a big blancmange of meh, frankly.
Slop.
Yeah, in a nutshell. So I do worry about that a bit. And I think that's where being human is the only way you avoid that, frankly, and recognizing that, yes, what we're talking about should all be huge enablers, but it's not a replacement.
Can I give a brief answer to both of our problems and challenges that we've just said about creativity and just producing nonsense? I just kind of feel like I remember I said this earlier this year. Literally, we're still in 2025. What's going on?
I know.
I half wrote a post, and I've said this at several things. If you've heard it before, I'm sorry. But I half wrote a post that I was going to put on LinkedIn about going to see Usher. I really, really wanted to see Usher in concert. And I was like, I work in the events industry. No one has invited me to see Usher. He's coming to London. What is this about? Are you not my friends? Like, what's going on? I wrote it in my tone. But then I actually put it into ChatGPT. And I was like, this is how I'm feeling. And I put that in. And I was like, now round this off. And I'm being open and admitting it. I said, now round this off with a point about relationships in the event industry and how we should like partner together and stuff like that. And it did. But it kept my original tone. It kept my original little complaint and rant. And it was one of the best posts. It got so much engagement. Like, everyone was like, oh, babe, I would take you if I could. It made me a new friend who actually took me to see Usher.
Stop it.
Who then I worked with at event at our conference, who gave away, she's given away Brits tickets to a couple of winners. And so they're going to the Brits next year. Manchester Piccadilly Hotel got involved, and they said, we'll donate some rooms. All off one post that was quite authentic. But I did use a little bit of AI. And I think that's what's, it's kind of the answer to, like, don't feed in crap. Do you know what I mean? You'll get some goodness out, but you can partner with it, and then you build more partnerships. And
well, I guess it's that old phrase, put crap in, get crap out, right? So you've got to really put good stuff in to get good stuff out.
I mean, well, I have a personal PR thing as a public relations person, is that if you're using it, you should tell people you're using it. I think that's just a basic, honest thing.
I don't know about that.
And then you take away the shame.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
well, I can. This is a spoiler. Sorry, because if you're not in the next session at the FT, Financial Times, anything that is public-facing content that has had any touch of AI, it is clearly labelled, because most of it doesn't. Genuinely, hardly any of the FT content is AI-powered. There are a couple of podcasts which are, but it's all it's ridiculously labelled to the point where it's like makes you not even want to listen to it.
I love that we've ended contentious.
Yeah, I like that. Why did I do that at the end? Has anyone else got any other sort of questions or points or areas? I think we're all okay. What can I say? Thanks so much for your questions and your honesty and just for feeding us. And thanks so much to you guys for guiding us through it and answering strange questions from me and really brilliant questions as well. And so let's give a sort of almost a group round of applause to everyone. But thank you so much. I think we've plugged the next session quite enough now, but it's in 15 minutes, and it is what we've called the scary stuff, which is another way of saying legal stuff, all right? But we just changed the wording a little bit. You're very welcome to come to that. In the meantime, go and have some fun on the stage and on the show floor, and we'll see you in a bit.